welcome everybody to yet another episode of Health and Safety Unplugged. I'm Matt Jones, your host, and today we are very lucky to be hanging out with Matt Vaughan, who has kindly accepted my invitation to have a catch up and to share some of his experiences and bring further value to the New Zealand health and safety community. So, Matt, welcome to the show.
No, I appreciate it. Thank you very much, and looking forward to kicking on with this podcast, mate.
Yeah, awesome. So it's great to have you. And for those out there who may not necessarily be familiar with Matt Vaughan, I thought I'd give you the opportunity to introduce yourself. So what's your backstory, Matt?
I have been running health and wellbeing programs within organisations for LinkedIn says 8 years with MV Corporate Health, but it's just over 10 years within one particular business, MV Corporate Health. And that came about after being heavily involved in more individualized strength and conditioning. And then from that connection, then moving from a real performance-based type of training between individuals and also teams, so sports teams. I then started to transition into more the corporate world or the organizational health and wellbeing journey, just because people started pushing me there, especially people that I was coaching through the information I was giving them. And when you are giving information, you're educating people, especially people that were quite high up in businesses. Over in Melbourne, this was. They started to say to me, "Oh, our team would really would perform better if you were to give this information through to them." So that was really the start of when I then started to create more of an organizational health and wellbeing program. So over the last 10 years, it's then transitioned and transformed itself. And then I've then built another business on top of it because of some of the lagging or inability to be able to scale and produce information to organizations because there was only one of me. So that's where it started.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, it's the common problem of not being able to, chop yourself into 10 or a dozen parts and be able to be everywhere all at once, right?
100%.
Yeah. So, in terms of the sporting direction, was that something that you've always been involved in? Was that an area that you personally excelled in?
Yeah. So far out, like if you're a Kiwi and you say you're really good at anything, you get stood on pretty quickly. But I'll tell you what I wasn't good at. It's probably easier to say that. So I was not good at school. Like academically at school, I really struggled, and part of me not showing weakness within school, or to be honest, now I look back, I was super embarrassed about how bad I was at learning things from whiteboards and blackboards. So you do that thing where you try to take you take the limelight off how bad you are here, and you put your energy into something else. And for me, I guess I did love sports. I grew up in a typical New Zealand family. Rugby was king. I love sports. I loved tennis and cricket and golf and anything with a ball. So truly, it was a passion, and it was also a really good way of shying away from the stuff I was not good at. Like I just said, you put numbers and letters and stuff up on a blackboard or whiteboard, showing my age, and I was useless. I failed everything, and I did it really well. I'll be honest, like I really did suck at school. And then, funny enough, when I got out of school, transitioned into the real world, I started learning a lot more about maths and discounts and percentages and all this sort of stuff because I was actually doing it. I was actually doing it in real life. And throughout my rugby tenure here in Christchurch, so originally from Christchurch as well, I guess I made it to some good levels of sport, rugby in particular. I did all right with cricket, but rugby become my chosen sport. Got to sort of that Crusader development area,
Mhm.
Canterbury NPCBs. And then I knew I couldn't go any further. There was some better number 10s around Canterbury at the time. Um, and then I eventually got a contract. So I ended up being contracted to go overseas. And I was over there for 11 years in the UK. So
Mhm.
the UK become a huge part of my life, massive part of my life, if I'm honest. Some
Yeah.
amazing friends, some amazing people, some amazing coaches that also helped me shape my performance based coaching now. Um,
Mhm.
and some amazing people that really pushed me into what I'm doing now. So some people that have excelled beyond, are also a huge influence
Mm.
before I then came to Melbourne. So sports has always been a thing.
Yep.
Performance will always be a thing when it comes to health and well-being because better performing humans are better performing at whatever it is that they do.
Mm. It's really interesting, and there was a couple of kind of key points that I picked up along the way there, Matt. So you definitely hinted at the fact that the New Zealand culture perhaps has a bit of an issue around tall poppy syndrome, and kind of knocking down those who are willing to stand up and acknowledge their achievements. You've obviously had overseas experience. You've already mentioned that you've spent some time in Aussie and you had a decent chunk of time in the UK. So, from those experiences, do you feel that it is a significant issue here in New Zealand alone, or what's your thoughts?
Yeah, not just New Zealand.
Yeah.
Uh, More so because New Zealand's smaller. Um, and yeah, the UK is has a little bit of that, and there's bigger numbers, so you have more people actually with bigger numbers. You have more people sort of backing you as well, and then you still get a few people that are like a little bit of grr. And I'm not talking about me. I'm talking about the superstars over there. You got the then you got the media over there that can nail you down. If you are the best of the best, they'll jump
Yeah.
on you just a headline. So that's folding in the whole UK scene. Australia, they back themselves a little bit. They back themselves a little bit more, and they support a little bit better.
Mm.
Um, Again, New Zealand's a little bit smaller, so it is hard. You like I did mention, you don't talk yourself up in any ways. It does get branded as one particular thing. But
Mhm.
if you really want to go for it, if you really want to push and you want to be successful, um, a very good example of why is because I'm not super successful to the point where I can have multiple people doing my marketing and stuff like that there. I'm not
Mm.
big yet, you know? I'm not there. I don't have all those funds coming in where I can just pay a marketing person to do this. And I've tried it and I've been stung a
Mhm.
number of times in that. So
Yeah.
I do all of that stuff myself. And when
Mhm.
you are really the big part of your brand to start with, you do need to push your name out there. You do need to push your face out there. You need to be recognized. And if you are
Yes.
recognized, people then start talking about you. And if you're doing a good job, it will
Mm.
evolve as time. I'd love to. My dream, I'll be honest, my dream is to fold my ugly mug out of my businesses and then have other people be the face and so forth. And that's my dream.
Mm.
I'll get there, but for
Yeah.
now, I've got to keep pushing.
Yeah, yeah, I love that, and I guess that's the natural evolution and transition of a growing business from the solopreneur into that big enterprise style organization, at which I guess we're all aspiring to achieve. And so it's probably quite a neat segue because I was interested in exploring how you found the transition going right back from being the athlete into becoming the solopreneur and developing your own business. Are there any key moments or even conversations that you recall having during that transition that spring to mind?
Uh, Without a doubt, so many.
Mhm.
So with rugby being the big thing that I was doing, really over in the UK, um, I played for this team called Blackheath, which was an amazing 6.5 years that I had. And one thing that I really noticed was I really loved hanging out with the strength and conditioning coach, the
Mm.
coaches, the physio, and still to this day, I can honestly say the strength and conditioning coach back at then, he was the major influence on pushing me into where I went within strength and
Mhm.
conditioning and performance based. His name's Alex Natera, and he is known as one of the most, well, he is one of the biggest S&C coaches, I'm just going to say, on the planet
Mhm.
right now, sought after
Yeah.
in multiple big sports. And yeah, a very good friend of mine. So he
Mhm.
was a big push. And he did say to me many years ago, mate, you'd be good at this. You should get into it. Because I
Mm.
enjoyed not just performance, the skill base of rugby and all that sort of stuff, and the social side of things and everything, but I actually loved looking after myself. If I got an injury or something like that, there, I was always a very good student, a very good
Mhm.
student. So if they said something, and I had an injured hamstring, for instance, and I needed to rehab, strength conditioning, and then prehab, I would listen to them to a T. And I can guarantee
Mm.
you, I'd be back before the date that I was supposed to be back. And I would do everything I could to do that. So that means the
Yeah.
basics. That doesn't just mean what they tell you to do. That's
Mhm.
looking after what you drink, what you eat, how you sleep, and funny enough, this is the language I use continuously just for your basic health and well-being thing. So not
Mm.
just performance based or getting back to the field or the workplace. It
Mhm.
is something that I just automatically talk about. It's those basics done well and done often. So yeah,
Awesome.
many conversations I've had with good people that push me in a good direction.
Yeah, yeah, and invaluable experiences too, right? It's so important to have that support and that positive mindset that helps you to feel inspired to then take that next step. And so, um, and over time, you created the MV Corporate Health and also the Heal Me Well tools. I mean, I guess for today's episode, I was hoping to spend some time unwrapping the Heal Me Well product because we recently caught up and you showed me the power of the tool. And I'd love to, yeah, just give you an opportunity to tell everybody about Heal Me Well.
Yeah, so Heal Me Well was designed through my inability to scale MV Corporate Health. So
Mm.
in short, MV Corporate Health is mainly based around me going into industries or organizations, minimum of 4 times a year,
Mhm.
to coach, to motivate, to educate, to design, to adapt wellbeing programs. And I love doing it. Like, I love it. It's still going to be an intrinsic part to Heal Me Well.
Mhm.
But like we said early on the piece, I
Mm.
can't cut myself into 12 people. I can't be everywhere all the time. So I actually started designing Heal Me Well when I was back in Melbourne, and I designed it over about 4.5 years. And I just started figuring out what is it that companies need that I can't do all the time. What is it what company needs? I personally believe companies need personalization when it comes to their wellbeing programs, but
Mm.
they also need data. They need data because the biggest question that any health and wellbeing coach will ever get asked was, prove to me that it works. And I'm
Mhm.
like, all right, so prove to me. You can look at absenteeism and things like that there. And
Mhm.
then you've got the other stuff, which unless you're a real believer in health and wellbeing, It's about how your people turn up and things like that there. So it's a bit more of the, really the human side of it.
Mm.
Heal Me Well has taken all of that out in terms of we now, in short, we take up only 28 minutes of your employees' time. Doesn't matter if you've got 20 employees or 5,000 employees.
Mhm.
It's a simple health quiz. From that, there's 4 pillars on mental health, and there's 4 pillars on physical health. It takes them about 6 to 7 minutes to complete, and then they get a snapshot of where they are personally on their journey. So it'll show all the pillars. It'll then show where they're strong in and where they are not so strong in. So where their work-ons are. And to really bring in the personalization or personal development, which is the key, we actually then send them an email once a week um, with a video and text on the work-ons on what they need. So
Mhm.
if you've done it, Matt, and I've noticed that you're poor with recovery
Mhm.
and potentially nutrition and maybe hydration, something like that that they're all for physical um, elements. Maybe it's resilience or something. We'll notice that their scores are very low within the quiz,
Mhm.
and we'll just send them one video a week for the next 12 weeks, just educating them on those lower pillars that they scored. And then
Mm.
from that, the actual whole company, so if you're an HR, you're a CEO, you're a manager,
Mhm.
with multiple different sites, you actually get to see an aggregated view of what the team is strong and weak on.
Yeah.
And from that, we can actually build your well-being roadmap in real time. So it's not a set and forget program. It
Mhm.
actually works depending on how your group is as a whole. And then if they want us to come in and coach on the areas they need, they can do that. Or they can get someone else to come in and talk about resilience, confidence, goal setting, hydration, nutrition, movement, exercise, um, recovery, things like that there. So we can do the coaching and things like that,
Yeah.
and build up the educational tools that they really need,
Mhm.
because the data shows exactly, and we have a score. So we'll give them a physical health score for the group, and it'll give them a mental health score for the group, and it gives them 2 very clear scores, and they've got PDFs that it comes out with, so full reports and everything as well.
Yeah.
Um, so it's really solved the huge factor of one, giving personalization and also group stuff with data to prove it as well. So
Good. Good. And that's possibly one of the biggest issues or concerns that I hear when talking to businesses around the health and well-being piece is that there's a real grayness or uncertainty in terms of um, where the investment is going. Often, the most responsive or reactive approach to health and well-being is the fruit bowl in the staff kitchen, right, or the office space, and it's like, no, that you've really missed the point. And so, what you're doing is shining a light on individuals' performance and current starting points, but also as a collective, whether it's the team or the organizational starting point, and then being able to benchmark and setting goals and targets for individuals and an organization. This is just really invaluable stuff and goes well beyond many of the solutions that I've come across over the years. So congratulations, it's amazing.
yeah.
And so from your experience, what are some of the upsides to the use of the tool? What are some of the feedback that you're hearing from the ground?
Yeah, so some of the upsides is like had a meeting last week, and in particular this organization, which is in the steel sector. They are based in Christchurch, Wellington, and Auckland, and they might have, say, 10 here, 7 in Wellington, and 12 in Auckland. But they've also got a couple of people that are, one's in Tauranga and one's down in, say, Dunedin or something like that there. With Heal Me Well, it doesn't matter where you are. So that's the beauty. Like, everyone gets equal share on their wellbeing program. So it's not just catered for those groups. Um, That's one of the best things. But the other biggest part of my feedback, which is the most consistent, is I keep on getting it's like you're giving us that little tap on the shoulder. Because we don't tell anyone to do anything. We will always provide education on why they could. Because you can't, the old saying is you can lead a horse to water, but whether or not they drink or not is up to them. Some
Yep.
people just are not right, or they're just not in a place where they want to listen. If you're stressed out, if you're
Mhm.
currently unhealthy, if I don't connect with you, maybe something, it could be the way I look. I'm not everything to everyone. I get that.
Mm.
But I'm also not your manager. I'm not the person at work telling you to do something, because if you're a manager at work, you are basically a parent. Like, I'm a parent, you're a parent, Matt.
Mhm.
If we continually say something to our kids, eventually they don't want to listen. But the uncle or auntie from, wherever, when they say something, oh, it's a great idea. I'm
Yeah.
I'm the uncle and or auntie,
Mhm.
who give them their advice, and then employees go, "Oh, that's a good advice. Why didn't you tell us that?" Well, in many cases, I've already spoken to the manager. I've
Mhm.
already understood what they've tried to tell them. I might say exactly the same thing, but in a different tone, with
Mm.
with 20 odd years of well-being experience, health and
Yep.
performance experience, and all of a
Mhm.
sudden, it's a great idea.
Yeah.
Um, we are there to support your message, to 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 build it up, to be stronger, so that your employees do the aha. I will
Mm.
do that.
Yep.
And again, it's just about doing the basics well and often. For
Yep.
some people, we might push to that next level where it might be more around the personal development, you know, sort of drivers as well. So it might
Mhm.
come to more podcasts they might listen to. We
Mhm.
can push them that way, or it might be around personal development books, which I found out I was better at learning from audiobooks and things like that there. So we
Mhm.
might push people down those routes. Or maybe 10 seconds of what I've said was enough.
Mm. That's so
Or
cool. Yep. Sorry, mate. Carry on.
no, oh yeah, sometimes people see and heal me well, they
Mhm.
see how low they are on a certain
Mhm.
pillar. So
Yeah.
the biggest one for most people, aha moments, especially because I deal with a lot of tradies. So roofing, construction, a lot of joinery companies, and trying to get into the scaffolding world as well.
Mhm.
A lot of people notice that they're very poor with recovery, normally with nutrition as well. And sometimes it's just the visual look. Oh, I really need to work on that. And then for the next 2 or 3 months, if they work on that, then we're trying to make their spirograph or their pillars puff out a bit more so they
Mhm.
are a bit healthier.
Yeah, that's cool. And I mean, the industries you've just listed too, I mean, often they're the type of industries that fall below the radar when it comes to the focus and the important mahi that you and the team are doing, which is phenomenal. So, the, what springs to mind, I'm just thinking of some of my HR friends who I'm sure would be one really keen to explore this for their own people, but also would probably be seeking some assurances around the, the management of the information, because obviously you'll be dealing with quite sensitive personal information there, and also around whether there's any escalation processes that you would recommend if an individual is identified as perhaps needing a little bit more urgent support.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, yeah, first and foremost, I think the big thing is our Heal Me Well quizzes are 100% confidential.
Hmm.
They always will be. Um, Health is personal. Health and well-being is very, very personal. I understand that. So, I mean, a lot of businesses push out surveys,
Mm.
but I honestly believe, and I've spoken to hundreds of people within the trades that I currently deal with. Do they answer their quizzes 100% truthfully? Probably
Yeah.
not, because they are never quite sure who's going to see it.
Yep.
So the thing is with Heal Me Well is that you can never see their quiz unless they really show it. They show their phone and then they show their manager or friend or whatever. So it's impossible. That's first and foremost. In terms of if we identify that someone is in greater need, they can contact either myself or one of the health professionals that we'll have in the background as well. But also, one of the things that one of the things we can't be is what most companies already have. So there's obviously EAP is one of the biggest users,
Hmm.
one of the biggest, I'm going to say, platforms that gets used a lot within the industries. Sometimes we need to push them towards that as well, but sometimes they don't want to do that whole chat with EAP because they haven't got that connection.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's a phone call to me, sometimes it's a text message or an email or something like that there. Often we get that from managers or, like you say, HR,
Hmm.
where they might say, oh, how is this person getting on or something? We can only look at the group aggregated view, and then we can also advise on where people can go. So we'll then have sort of partnerships. One of the it's not a partnership, but one of the places I love to push people in case of anxiety, depression, and things like that there would be
Hmm.
a company called justathought.co.nz. They're a free service, New Zealand made company as well, that can really help with those sorts of things.
Yep.
And it's a free, as I say, it's a free service. So justathought.co.nz is a really good one that we'll drive people to, or
Hmm.
with most companies. And if you're part of RANDS, um, I know for a fact that EAP is there for situations when someone might need some help. So that's when you get, say, free counselling sessions. And if that's great, if that's going to help them out, fantastic. If they need to, and they want to touch base with us, they can as well. But
Hmm.
that's only just an email away or a phone call away.
Yeah, cool. I love that. I love there's processes in place. Lots of clearly deep thinking has gone into that, which I'm sure will give a lot of assurances to those in the know when it comes to matters of privacy and also confidence when we do identify those who need more support, which is fantastic. So you've got your fingers in a multitude of different areas in terms of your experience in the sporting profession, your experience in high level uh, nutrition, the health and well-being practices to be our most effective or optimal selves. In terms of the the technology and the advancements in that space as well, I imagine you've also got one foot in that space as well. So in terms of the technological advancements that I'm sure you're seeing at the moment, are there any that you feel present the most opportunity or exciting developments for the health and well-being space that you can see?
Yeah. So basically, Matt, just to reiterate, so you're talking about the future of health
Yeah,
programs.
yeah, you've got
Yeah.
it. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So yeah, in terms of, wow, so here's what I do know. If things don't change,
Mm,
um, businesses will struggle because
yeah.
I know for a fact, and whether or not we're going to admit it or not, um, there's a generation of people within the next 10 years that are going to slowly come out of the workforce, right? So that's that
Mm,
generation. They're going to go out. And to replace that, we've got a whole new generation of people coming up. And these
mhm,
people that are coming up into the new workforce, their life is very different to the people that you can say, "Oi, you, get that job done, do your work, put your head down, put your ass up and get it done," right? So there's an old school that are definitely leaving. There's a new school that are coming up. Now, old school leaving and new school coming up, that's going to provide a whole new bunch of challenges. And if you're in management alone,
Mhm.
if you can't manage people, if you're not good with people, you're going to struggle, which means
Mhm.
that then the business is going to struggle because new generations coming up. Remember, right now, they are so used to almost ordering everything over the phone, including girlfriends, partners, wives, everything, um,
Mhm.
um, and food and everything. Like their the way that life is for them is so different, so
Yeah.
different. There's a lot more automation. There's a lot more instant gratification. Everything. So if we don't provide or transition through this period, we're going to struggle. And I look at it from a management point of view because managers do need to manage, and right now they can get away with not being the best of the best of the best, but eventually, when that old school goes and you can't just count on people to do something, you're going to have to be really good.
Mhm.
Part of me almost says you need to be, you have to almost have that background of psychology of really understanding human behavior, and how to, with diverse people, how to really manage that. So that's going to be a really interesting phase. Now, when
Mhm.
it comes to corporate health and well-being, to get back onto that track, EAP is great. So EAP, Employee Assistance Programs, great. It's fantastic. That gave me the drive to build Heal Me Well because I didn't want to be the ambulance at the bottom of the hill.
Mhm.
Um, and there are facts around EAP that at the lowest you've got about 2% of your organisation who will contact EAP. At the highest, it's around about 8. And I've been dealing with a couple of companies who fully admit that they've got about, on average, about 5% of any organisation that will contact them. Okay,
Mhm.
so not everyone uses that ambulance at the bottom of the hill for
Yeah.
that for the for the counselling and things like that. There, if we don't if we don't provide multiple different avenues for people to get advice or to get confidence within something that's going wrong, people are always going to be taking your 10 plus days for sick leave. It's easy to call them now, it's easier to call them mental health days. It really is.
Mhm.
That's going to become a real thing. So not even a, oh, I've got the sniffle type of thing. It's high stress. So we've got to be
Yeah.
able to manage that. Um, so we've got to have different avenues to be able to provide this. And this is where Heal Me Well is evolving. Even though we've only been in business for about 2 years,
Mhm.
I'm already evolving Heal Me Well to have far smarter people than me providing the advice in the background. We're
Mhm.
already teaming up with doctors and people with psychology, um, diplomas and masters and all that sort of stuff. People that have, I'm a qualified nutritionist, but that in comparison to a dietitian is nothing. I actually become qualified in nutrition just so I could provide personalized meal plans and give better advice than what I knew years ago. Um,
Mhm.
and again, if you're not in the field all the time, like a nutritionist or a dietitian who's in the field all the time, they are upskilling themselves every single day. I have a platform where I can say to people, here's a diet plan for you, which is super cheap, that can massively help out 90% of your issues. But if you've
Mhm.
got um, different things going in within your gut health and things like that, I will always push them to someone who's far smarter. You're going to spend a lot more money, but you're going to get a really good result at the end of the day as well. So
Mhm.
We've got to continually upskill at our end, so our people, our clients and companies can get better and better information and make better choices. So if you're not evolving all the time, if you're not
Mhm.
moving with the times, I truly believe that you will be left behind. And after living in Australia for 8 years and in this space for 8 years, I do know we're a little bit behind here. We're a
Mhm.
little bit behind, but we always go on trend. We're always catching up to stuff that's happening either in Australia or the UK. So
Yeah,
yeah, we're going to
awesome.
be there. We're going to evolve with it eventually.
Yeah,
So yeah,
I love that. I love that, and it's you kind of said a lot that really resonates with my approach, and also I imagine a lot of our audience in the health and safety space will be nodding away because of the key message of remaining within your lane, of your expertise, and then leaning on the support of those who have gone down the various streams of that shared practice, and spending their time keeping up to date with the latest information, because at the end of the day, we can't all be experts in everything, right? So it's having that platform that pulls all of that expertise together, which is just awesome, Matt. It's really exciting to hear. And so for those budding entrepreneurs, those who are watching this and going, man, this sounds like an amazing thing to get into. I know many who are dabbling with the idea of setting up their own consultancies, or going into the world of business. What are some of the top tips that you would give them based on your wealth of experience when it comes to starting up, or perhaps avoiding some of those common pitfalls?
easy, easy, super
Mm.
easy. This question,
Mhm.
patience, be
Mhm.
very patient. And the ice cream analogy will probably come to mind. So the ice cream analogy is go out there, taste every ice cream you can, and when you find that ice cream that you think about on the way home, that's really where you want to go, because that's what I did. When you enter into health and well-being, you can be so many different things. We've just mentioned a couple of them. You can specialize in
Mhm.
food, you can specialize in psychology, you can specialize in sports performance. Um, far out. There's resilience training, there's leadership training, there's everything. Go out there, do it
Mhm.
all, and find find what it is that you know that you're making an impact in. Even if there's a couple of aha moments when you go into a client, like especially in groups and situations, you start to really nut with a couple of people and a couple of questions. And if you do, that's what you should keep going at. And if it changes in a year or two's time, sweet, go with it. Change, adapt. If you don't adapt and you get very blasé around what you're doing, you'll get found out. You'll
Yeah.
definitely get found out. And when you lose that passion and desire, you're no longer in business, right? You're
Mm.
back. You're back just working and trying to get paid for bills and so forth. You need to know that when you run your own business consultancy and then develop that into something else potentially, far out. There's so many things. You do not become rich overnight or anything
Mm.
like that. There, you might never become rich, but you might have control over your time. You might have control over being a parent. I know full well that every second week when I've got my son, if I can drop him off to school and pick him up from school, I'm a successful dad. Like that's
Mm.
and pay the bills and take him on a couple of little trips every now and then. Nothing extravagant. Um, I can support him in what I do. And in saying that, just so everyone knows, you know, I have been through separation. I got remarried just over 2 years ago, and my
Mhm.
wife, who is from Melbourne, she lives 50% in Melbourne, and then
Mm.
again dropping her off at the airport this morning at 4 o'clock so she can go back and run her own business over there.
Mhm.
Far out. Like, life's not perfect. It's definitely not perfect for me.
Mm.
I can guarantee you. But if you're happy within what you're doing and you just want to keep going, um, it's got to be something that you're truly passionate about. So if you want to get into consultancy, go off, taste those ice creams, dabble in all the different elements of those businesses. When you really find the one that you love, my son used to love rainbow ice cream as a kid, and every time when I was in Altona in Melbourne, we'd walk down the road, and every time I'd test him and say, "Come on, mate, what ice cream do you want?" He would look and he would scan them all for a long time, and he'd look at me and go, "I think I'll go rainbow, Dad." And I'm like, "I knew what you were going to go for, mate." But now he's and he's 5 years on from that. He dabbles with lots of other ice creams, and for
Mm,
me, it's an important one because you can't sit still and keep doing the same thing.
mhm,
So yeah, go out there, find what you're really passionate about, and drive it home. Don't be afraid to fall over because we're
yeah,
going to. I do, Matt. You
mm,
will, mate. And
yep.
yeah, we've got to adapt and keep moving.
Love it. I love it. So many golden nuggets in there, Matt. That's just such invaluable advice. I guess ultimately it boils down to what does success actually look like for you anyway, right? Because often when it comes to trying to define success, the go-to is, oh, well, $1 million or some kind of financial target. But actually, the reality is that's not really the end goal or the end result. It's just like what you said in terms of having that freedom and flexibility to drop the kids off at school, to attend that performance or that athletics day with the kids. It's just the best, and I wouldn't change it for the world. Matt, this has been a really awesome conversation. I've been really enjoying getting to know you a little bit better, getting to know your amazing products a little bit better. For those of our audience who would like to reach out and to find out how you may be able to assist them and their businesses, what is the best way to get in touch?
Yeah, so probably just email. So Matt at healmewell.co.nz. So that's HEAL, MEWELL.co.nz. It's probably the best one. Obviously, I've got my other business, MV Corporate Health, as well. So
Mhm.
either one you can Google. But I am really pushing Heal Me Well at the moment. I know, and this is probably a good way to end. If you don't have that financial goal of what success is, I
Mm,
know if you jump into the health and well-being game, if it can be to help 10,000 people, 500,000 people, that's a good goal to aim for
mm,
because when you get to that phase, success will look after itself. Like in the sporting world, if you all do your job really well, success, the final score looks after itself. That
mm,
that's a common saying in the sporting world. I truly believe that that does happen within this as well. So yeah, if I can help out 25,000 people, 50,000 people, and just keep my goals going that way, it just happens. So yeah,
mhm. That's so good, mate. So good. I'm sure those numbers will be far bigger than that within the next year or two for you and your business. So congratulations. I'm excited to watch your journey over the next few years and beyond. I'm sure we'll have an opportunity to catch up again sometime soon. Matt, thank you. It's been a real pleasure just to hear your story and to hear how your experiences, in your younger years have now kind of transpired into where you're currently at today. It's awesome. Very inspiring stuff.
thanks, man. Appreciate your time, mate. Thank you very much.